Hey,
There you go. You're
thank
welcome.
you for that. It'd suck if your breath sucked. It's just nice. It's menthol. Let's talk about Keon Ellis.
Okay.
Okay.
Fans were chanting, "We want Keon" pretty early in the game yesterday.
There's a song by the band Poison.
Every rose has its thorn.
That's true. But also
On Skinny Bob.
Nope. Oh, would you get it? It's a hit. Pretty big Poison hit. Not as big as those two, but it's a.
No, if it's a hit, I would know. I just don't have it.
Give me something to believe in.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's a good song.
It's a great song. It's one of my favorites by them.
Yeah.
When you are a bad team, you need, as a fan, something to believe in. And every year when this team is bad, we as fans latch on to the Kyle Guys, Hassan Whitesides, Gerald Wallaces, all through the years. There is somebody on the team every single year that, and to a little bit, it was kind of Isaac Jones when he got let go, and now Keon Ellis. I love Keon Ellis. I'm going to be very pissed off if they screw this up and he goes somewhere else, because to me, a young, homegrown, defense-first, scrappy player that can hit 40+% from beyond the arc, that is the exact type. I would argue that might be one of arguably four, and I'm just putting. By the way, Nick Clifford, Maxime Reynaud may not be good players. We don't know yet.
Right.
But if you said to me, all right, it's you got to pick the four that you're going to build off of over the next 5 years, Keon Ellis is one of them. I'm not saying Keon Ellis is, in my opinion, he's not a star. He's not going to make an all-star team. He's not your go-to guy. Could Keon Ellis make a second or maybe even a first-team all-defense someday? Sure, that's out there. But he's the type of player you need. Also, Keon Ellis isn't going to change anything. So where the fans' gripe is correct, I think, and I understand it, is they're saying, who's taking his minutes? Why is XYZ playing, XYZ, sorry, England, playing instead of Keon Ellis? Mm-hmm. And I think that's fair.
Absolutely, it's fair.
But it also, again, it's worrying about the Band-Aid instead of the gunshot wound.
Yeah.
And when you have a gunshot wound, it's worried about the broken pinky or whatever. Jason, here's the real big problem for fans, and this is why. What we got here? Okay, we got time. Look, dude, I'm gonna circle the plane for a second, but I'm gonna try to land it. I just got back from across the pond, in which my role is on the interior of a professional sports team. The education I have gotten by doing that has been amazing in the following sense. I have a much better understanding of how things work inside out now, and that goes from team to team to team. There are certain things teams can't come out and say. There are certain things the fans have a problem, and behind the scenes, a lot of times the team has the same problems, and they're discussing it in the halls. With this Kings team, I'm looking at it from the same eyes everybody else is looking at, but with sort of a different outro, which is, what is the direction of the Sacramento Kings? What do they want? Because I don't know. I think, and part of this might be because I'm biased, I think they're doing a soft tank. And we've been saying that since before the season started. I think, remember last year, I think the first trade in the NBA was made in December. We're way too early. I think that Scott Perry is looking at this team, and as he said before he was the GM about certain players, it ain't right. He said it on this show that some of the contracts he's inherited, and they don't fit. Who do we think he's talking about? So I hope what they're doing is they are showcasing the players, for the most part, they want to move, while at the same time losing. And this is an incomplete puzzle. And as the season goes on, we will see if that's the case. Now, Doug Christie and the players' job is to win games full stop.
Right.
To win games full stop. But I don't know I don't know if Doug is being told who to give minutes to and who not, or suggest. I don't think anyone's saying to Doug, you have to play this person. Blah, 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 blah. But that's not how it works. It's, we really need to get these guys in. These are the priorities. And if that's happening, it's so difficult, kind of like the Niners with the injuries. It's so difficult to cover this team because if Zach LaVine's gone and Sabonis perhaps is gone and certainly DeRozan is gone in a month or 2 or 3 and Keon Ellis is getting 34 minutes a game and starting, well, we're having a different conversation. But everybody's trying to look at this that like the square peg fits in the square hole. Now, if Scott Perry and every single person above Scott, all of them, if there is anybody in that front office or above that thinks that this team can compete this year, that's a dereliction of duty, and they need to go instantly. If Scott Perry were in this room right now, and we've had nothing but wonderful interactions with Scott, and I have a ton of respect for him, but if we were doing the lie detector test thing and he was hooked up and I said, Scott, do you think this team can maybe not compete for a championship this year, but do you think this is a above 500 team that can, maybe do some damage in the playoffs? And he said yes. I'd say you're incompetent, dude. You got to go. Right? Full stop. You got to go. I'm already worried, and I know this isn't fair, but this is a young man's game in this league. This is a young man's front office world. When you look at the dynamic front offices around the NBA, and usually the best front offices, it's a young man's world with analytics and all kinds of crap going on in there. And when you look at a lot of these, the Joe Dumarses of the world and those guys who I have a lot of respect for, but that ain't it. Pat Riley is an exception in Miami, but there's some that say Pat's lost his touch a little bit too. I already worry, and I love these guys, but there's already a question. There's Scott Perry and Alvin Gentry and the rest of the, BJ's a little younger, but is this the right front office? We have no way of knowing yet, and they deserve to have a year for this.
Absolutely.
But if they end up losing Keon Ellis, it's not like losing Michael Jordan. I fully understand that, but if they screw this thing up and he ends up going somewhere else, it's a dereliction of duty. So there's a lot of irons in the fire right now, and there's no one answer for this whole thing.
Yeah, and that's where it's, there's a couple thoughts I have on just the early 10 games for the season and for the league. I think what we're seeing so far, again, very early on the side of the Kings, but very early in the side of the Western Conference, there's kind of been a general statement for the last 10 years or so, like the West is just so tough. It's just a gauntlet. I would almost challenge that a little bit. So far this year, the top is really starting to separate itself. Like there's no doubt that OKC is extremely gifted, the class of the league. The Spurs are off to a terrific start. The Lakers, and they're not fully healthy. Denver, we believe to be good. Houston, we like their roster. I think the team last night, Minnesota, has been good for years.
Yes.
When you get to that next group, I think the Warriors have special players in there. But right now, 9 is Phoenix. 10 is Memphis.
Yeah.
The Kings, as poorly as they played, are a half game behind. Now, I'm saying this not to give the illusion of like, hey, look, they're still in the race for the play-in, which they are, but that's not a spot anybody is coveting or thinks it's successful.
Right.
Because I think there's a chance that number might be lower than 40. Like there's years like, hey, they won 48 and they were the 8th seed. Or what did they win? 46 and they were the 9th seed. This might be a spot where that bottom is very attainable, but what that could get you is clearly a matchup with the best team in the league that there's such a separation for there. So I don't want there to be a delusion of being in the race that way. Now, the way they're constructed today, I think we all believe is not how they're going to be constructed at the end, but we're not to the end.
Right.
And is that, hey, at the deadline? Well, if it's at the deadline, that's February. That's a long time to go and a lot of games in between.
That's
and
right.
If they are, as you say, I don't know if showcasing is the right word, but playing the veterans to try to maximize how they, if DeRozan keeps averaging 20 and Levine's in the mid-20s or Sabonis keeps getting double-doubles and these are guys you're ultimately looking to shop, great, they're getting statistics, but are you 10 and 38 or whatever when you're, who knows what they would be.
But ultimately, would that matter if they were 10 and 38?
No, and not in the end for the further years, but also are you slowing potential growth? Like they're in a weird spot for several reasons, whether it's roster construction with age and offense, size. Certainly, I would like to see Keegan back. He's not fixing everything, but I would say this, watching last night too, this is, I think the one change I would make today, just the way they're constructed today, this isn't a trade.
Sure.
This is who they have today and who they'll have tomorrow night and Wednesday and so on. I would start Russ. I would start Westbrook for Schroder, and that's not the future. Yeah. He's not all-world defensive player, but like there's no mystery about how he plays.
No.
And I think he's the kind of player, if you play him at 30 minutes or more, you will get stats. Now, some might go, those stats are hollow. Okay. Maybe,
sure.
But you're getting stats. And I think Schroder has struggled. And maybe it's for defense to be in there. I'm not seeing this unbelievable defense.
Schroder has been terrible. Schroder has been embarrassing.
So
let's just
another reason I would start Russ.
And it's nothing personal. And maybe he's just going through a bad stretch. He's been terrible. And when we talk, we often say Scott Perry really hasn't made a crazy mistake yet. Some may end up being mistakes, but so far, getting the 2 picks, Nate Clifford, Max Reno, blah, blah, blah. The one looming thing that looks like a very big mistake right now is, dude, here's my question. If you knew Russ was going to sign here the whole time and the whole thing was you need a point guard, then why in the HE double hockey sticks did you commit $15 million a year for 3 years to Dennis Schroder when Russ signed on a vet minimum at 3.2? I forgive him that he maybe didn't think Russ would be this productive and Dennis wouldn't be that productive, but what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah, and here's where we get back to our earlier conversation about politics, and it's like Russ has been dramatically better.
Yes.
And he's at a value. If you had signed him in the different order and Russ had the contract, would he be starting? I don't know, but the results are better when Russ is out there.
And the whole thing, and look, the one thing I will say about Doug, the things that he said weirdly that I kind of take, a lot of the stuff he's getting crap for, I'm like, okay, whatever. But this is the one, when he was talking about starting Russ, and he's like, yeah, but Russ versus the second unit. I mean, and I understand that logic. Bro, Dennis is the one sucking out there. Why don't you put him against the second units? Right. Russ doesn't need to go against the second units. Yeah. Russ is doing just fine with all the units. Hello. Put Dennis and let him get out of this shell. And, if Dennis pouts, well, sorry, dude.
Same argument can be made. DeRozan in the second unit. Levine in the second unit. So, I mean,
I think they're showcasing those guys. I agree. My issue. But, that's
it. Back to roster construction, right? And weird in so many different kind of ways. And so all of that being said, all of the things that are in balance, whether it's the offensive guys aren't defending well enough.
By the way, the fans would love Westbrook starting. Not for nothing.
Yeah, I think so.
I think the fans would love it.
Yeah, and you don't do it for them, but it also makes some sense.
Right. Were you going to take a hit on defense?
Yeah.
Sorry.
But all that being said, it's like, look, it's not working very well, but I think you can ask of it, whatever you have now to give you more. Right. If you're playing your offensive guys, be better defensively.
Yeah.
Your younger guys that are in the front court, can you rebound better? Like when they go a little bit bigger, it's like, here you go. Well, they're not rebounding well enough. There's a lot of inequities to what they're doing out there, and that's leading to this inconsistency. And they're kind of stuck. They're in it right now until they're not, and I don't see the end ahead of them right now. But like even one move while you have what you have, I think. Like so, if that lineup tomorrow night was, I was good with Achua. That's fine. If it's Sabonis, Achua, DeRozan, Levine, and Westbrook, I'm not saying they're going to win the next 10 games.
Let's have fun.
I think that's a better start to the game.
Monk and Ellis first off the bench.
Sure,
with that
Schroder can come in. Schroder can play. It's not like you can't play the guy.
Yeah, but Schroder can earn his way on the fly. I just don't want. It's so hilarious because, dude, one is on a minimum who is a first ballot of all the people in the NBA right now. Russ Westbrook is a top 5 first ballot Hall of Famer, including LeBron and everybody else. He has the background, and on top of that, he's producing. So put him in there until he doesn't.
Yeah, and I think last night, for example, off the bench, and the game got out of hand, but I think he was about 15 minutes, 16 minutes, and there's just no production, really, or minimal production, minimal feel from Russ yesterday. But I think if he's in there from the get-go, I mean, we know what he's done. We don't have to explain his career, and he's not saving the team. That's not my point. But I think you're better. I think you're better that way, and
you're
then,
at least more entertaining.
Yeah, and then if you start a trade along the way, and whatever, one of the veterans, let's say DeRozan gets moved in a deal. Hopefully, you get something back or a pick. But then as Keegan comes back, okay, now maybe there's minutes for Clifford. So you're starting to go, okay, yeah, Russ is still here and Schroder and Sabonis, but here's a young guy that now can maybe get some minutes and they naturally fit in and it's starting to grow. And, oh, wow, here's a second trade. But we're just not there. And this intermediate spot is kind of tough to watch.
That's why I would love to see Russ Westbrook in the Drew Holiday spot. Like what Portland's doing right now, I've told you this. I've moved. OKC won a title. I have to move on from them. I would be talking San Antonio, but everybody gets mad at me for that. So I've now kind of moved on to Portland. I feel like Portland is the next up in this level of tankers turned. They're not going to compete for a title this year, but I like the direction they're going. And I really love that they have a nice young core surrounded by a veteran point guard, Drew Holiday. That's where it makes sense. Because right now, this team doesn't need veterans. You've got DeMar DeRozan. You have Russ. You have all the character and culture in the world. All the character and culture people. Oh, I'm character and culture. Well, okay, dude. You got Domantas Sabonis, character and culture. DeMar DeRozan, all-time character and culture. Russ Westbrook, half the NBA grew up loving him. Zach LaVine's a character. All these guys. Well, what's it doing? Right. Oh, well, you don't want to hurt the defense. Again, we suck at defense right now. You and I could play point guard and probably, okay, they'll give up a few more points. But, dude, it's so goofy. And the sad thing is, Kings fans, I really want you, I know you don't like this, but this will make it easier. Trust me. They're going to be bad this year. It's just a matter of how bad they're going to be. Here's something else for you. They're going to almost certainly be bad next year. There's not some magic light at the end of the tunnel that's going to happen this year. Now, I could be wrong.
Yeah, that one I don't know
yet. But the salaries and the way everything is set up, even if everything goes right and they're able to dump off a lot of the salary and get young and get some draft picks, next year, when I say bad, I'm talking record and competing for a title or even high playoffs-wise. Now, next year, in best-case scenario for me, is you've got a young, fun, like Detroit-style, San Antonio without Wembanyama style, that type of team where you can see it. Portland, that would be a great start next year. But Portland's not winning any titles this year. Portland's probably not getting the second round, much less the first. That's fine. This team right now is poo. It's poo. Great individual, some really nice individual pieces. But the construction is whatever. And again, if there's anybody front office or above that thinks this was the team or they could do better, then that is absolute incompetence. If we can figure it out, if I can figure it out, and I'm an idiot, they sure as hell better be able to figure it out. Much more later. We'll take a break. When we come back.